If you've been paying attention to all of the recent PC news, I wouldn't blame you for assuming that all anyone wants to do anymore is build $5,000 20-core supercomputers. After all, the releases dominating the news cycle for a few months now have included X299, Threadripper, and now Vega, none of which have even the slightest interest in catering to the low to mid-end gaming market. Luckily, this year's processor wars have included a release from AMD that tucks itself nicely into that middle ground, the Ryzen 3 1300X. Let's put together a mid-range gaming box that packs a punch. So let's start then with that Ryzen 3 CPU. The 1300X is the top of the Ryzen 3 product stack, but still comes in at a very reasonable $130. I tested the 1200 in that video up there, and came away very impressed, especially with its overclockability and overall value. The 1300X is clocked higher, but we still get the same 4 physical Zen cores to go along with 8 megs of L3 cache, and a very manageable 65-watt TDP. The 1300X also comes with the same Wraith stealth cooler that I was a huge fan of with the 1200. So right off the bat, we're almost ahead of the game by not having to worry about buying an aftermarket AIO or tower cooler. We're going to be pairing the 1300X with the Asus Prime B350 Plus motherboard. I talked about this board a bit in my B350 roundup, but it is rock solid overall and provides good overclocking support. One of the biggest issues I have with many of the B350 boards is that it seems difficult to get one that's not in some way red, unless you want to spend some extra money for something like MSI's Pro Carbon line. As our color scheme today is not red, I hope these subtle accents on the board won't come into play. To render our favorite games, I'm going to be using the Gigabyte Aorus GTX 1060 9GB per second model. This is a refreshed version of the original release of the GTX 1060 that offers a bump in both memory speed and bandwidth. It's not a huge overhaul, but the end result is that you'll see a bump in frame rate usually between 1 and 3 frames per second at 1080p. The reason NVIDIA released cards with this slight tweak was to try to take some of the shine off of the RX 580 when it was first released. And most AIB partners have by now come out with 1060s using this new spec. The Aorus 1060 features a triple fan cooler and a relatively slim 2-slot design. I'll be doing a more comprehensive review of this card in a later video, so stay tuned for that. For memory in this build, I'm going to be using a kit that I've used in AMD builds before, this 2x8 GB set of HyperX Predator. The reason I've gone back to this memory is that it was designed to work at rated speeds on the Ryzen platform. And as previous testing has revealed, Ryzen gets a significant performance boost from higher clocked memory. We don't want to sacrifice performance by choosing RAM that won't be able to run at its rated speed. Storage in today's project will be a 500GB Samsung 850 EVO. Still the standard for 2.5-inch SSDs, the EVO outperforms almost all other drives in this price range and comes with a rating of 2 million hours mean time between failures. Although the price of NAND is still volatile, you can grab one of these for about $140 right now on Amazon, which seems like a pretty good bargain. Both the power and the case for today's build were provided by Be Quiet, and I'd like to send a big thank you to them for that. The power supply is this Pure Power 10 600-watt unit, which carries the relatively rare 80+ silver efficiency rating. It's not modular, but it has all black cables and is very reasonably priced. We'll be building in the windowed version of the orange PureBase 600. What makes this case special is that you can actually buy it in a silent version with no window at all, and then later add on the tempered glass if you decide that your cable management is worthy. Time to get to work, guys. Let's put this whole thing together. So that wraps up our look at a Ryzen 3 based gaming machine for August 2017. The GTX 1060, as always, provides stellar 1080p gaming performance without going overboard versus our choice of processor. The 1060 is the sweet spot when dealing with GPU choices for the Ryzen 3 line, although I suppose an argument could also be made for the 580 if the prices weren't so jacked up right now. We got a nice overclock out of our 1300X, hitting 3.9 GHz on all cores stable with our stock cooler. We were also able to run our memory at 2933 MHz and our GPU with 100 MHz offset on the core clock, as well as a memory boost. This combination gave us buttery smooth frame rates in most games at ultra settings, with Ashes of the Singularity being the lone exception, kind of as always. A couple things to note here: if you're going to be replicating this build and you're worried at all about aesthetics, I might consider looking for an all-black motherboard, as the red accents really kind of ground my gears every time I caught a glimpse of them. Also, a set of orange cable extensions would really do wonders as a color highlight, and perhaps maybe an LED strip or a couple RGB fans might spruce up the interior as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on August's monthly build as much as I enjoyed making it. Make sure to get subscribed to the channel if you're not already, and hit that little like button down there in the corner. You guys can check out the link to my website in the video description down below, where you can buy cool shirts like this one that help support the channel if you like what I do. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.